coming up. I don't know. Ha! Wow, what a Saturday morning, huh? All right, Mr. Bagelman, let's try this again. Add speaker. Glitching. Improve. I can't get them up. I don't know if you can, Torchlight, or if you're even there. I'll try another way.
Here, I cleaned up the area of the coffee and stuff. And I made myself a cup of coffee, thank you.
Oh. Oh, I guess he must have jumped out again. I didn't expect to wake up to a Saturday morning like this. It's a lot of info. Where's junk? Add speaker. A lot of info this morning. Yeah, you came up. I got Junk Savvy up.
Hey, Captain. You know, as I'm listening to some of Gray's thoughts, I'm reflecting back on the PRs and the statements that have come from Nextbridge and Greg McCabe and statements in their filings. And they have a whole different kind of color to them now. You know, when they talk about transitioning the strategies of the company, they talk about the bright future. Um, all of these different things that in the time, especially to our adversaries and maybe to even some of the skeptics within our investor community, may have sounded hollow. But when you look at what's being, revealed today through these Texas Information Act requests, um, they have a whole different meaning. It sounds like to me, and of course I'm a supporter of my company that I'm invested in, but that they were trying to tell us there's something bigger going on here, that there are exciting things going on. um, and Yeah, it's just very interesting. I would encourage everyone to go back and read the PRs again. Also, to sketch out your own little timeline. I'm actually in the background working on one of these now, based on the emails that we've posted in the past, based on the notification. This announcement from Sage Geosystems that Trevor posted in Meta was actually done at the U.S. Department of Energy's Catalyzing New Generation Geothermal Developments workshop. Um, and so, not exactly sure why it didn't include Nextbridge at the time. I'm actually looking through and I don't see any mention of Nextbridge at the time. But look at the timeline of everything that's happening. When the notifications about a delinquency on the royalty fees. When this announcement was made, when we've seen other emails from Greg McCabe indicating that he had these conversations with a representative of University Lands in Houston, indicating that there was interference, that people had contacted University Lands regarding Nextbridge. Look at the public campaign. Guys, it's recorded on a space. A public campaign to destroy the reputations of Greg McCabe and anyone associated with Nextbridge Hydrocarbons. When you look at all these things in context, it's starting to fill in that puzzle and connect those pieces together. Many like Jonna and Kurtis, myself, and others have been saying for a long time, there is something much bigger going on here. And I know people don't like to hear that because they simply belong to the F you pay me camp. I get it. But as Kurtis has discussed, a lot over the last few weeks, there is definitely something much bigger going on here. I step back all the time, and those of you that and I that speak privately, phone calls and things like that, I say, what are we involved in? What are we in the middle of? So much bigger, so many bigger moving parts here. But I also believe that they will work to our advantage and that there is a blessing in the delay. The 2 years that we've been here, and we've still got a ways to go. We're not done yet. But yeah, I would just encourage everyone to go back and read through the Next Bridges PRs, read their filings, read the previous Texas Information Act emails that have been posted. And by the way, selectively posted, especially by our adversaries. You know, they love to grab an email and highlight one particular line and then opine on it for days about how, you know, what their interpretation of it is. But, you know, when you put these things in context, they have a totally different understanding and meaning. And it is very clear to me that, as Grace said, Greg McCabe has every intention of sustaining this company. Every intention. I did want to do a little bit of a correction. Louisiana property is insane. The 4 Louisiana properties that named after NFL teams, those were actually conveyed to the company from John Berta's company. However, the Heritage property is, of course, one of Greg McCabe's properties that he put out a PR demonstrating their intent to convey. Now, guys, and I've said this many times before, I apologize for being repetitive, but as somebody who has worked in the past in real estate and development and has conveyed properties as well as had them conveyed to me, there are a myriad of things that can delay that process. I remember, you know, any of you that have bought a home and you do like a 30-day escrow, how many of you have actually closed in 30 days? I have not closed a single one of my escrows in the scheduled time. My longest one, I think, went like 92 daes. So there certainly can be delays in that process for me until more relevant evidence comes forth, i.e. a PR from Nextbridge saying that that agreement's been terminated. I'm going to assume that they're acting in good faith and that that process is continuing. And hopefully we'll receive a PR soon that that property has indeed been conveyed. And by the way, Mr. McCabe owns a lot of properties. And so I would not be surprised if in the future we see him convey more properties. But I also want to reiterate, Gray brought up a good point. In the letter and the PR from Nextbridge regarding the termination of the lease is specific to the termination of the current lease effective immediately, which Mr. McCabe said we do not agree to. I do believe that's an indication that this is not over. That this is not over. We, of course, have received no information about any potential lawsuit that is moving forward or legal action or if communications have even continued. But certainly, I don't think it's game over, especially knowing now what kind of deal was on the table. Kurtis had indicated that Robert Lance Cook was co-founder of Geosystems. He currently serves as chief technical officer as well.
CTO. Yep.
Yeah, he's CTO.
And by
So
the way,
yeah,
one important note before we move on from him, he was the designated representative for the preferred shareholders. So
he
once
was.
once it became Torch A, you know, Series A preferred shares, and we all know the story that how it became MMTLP. He was the designated representative to really advocate for all of our interests. So he's the one connecting party between all three that sustained.
Yeah. And guys, you know, we have 2 employees of the company right now. One is not paid. That would be our CEO and chairman of the board, Greg McCabe. And then we have 3 board members, Greg McCabe, Robert Lance Cook, and Ed Pocock. So, you know, it's very interesting when you start to put all these pieces together. It certainly paints the picture that Greg McCabe and Nextbridge had deals in place. They were expanding and transitioning the company. Not to say that they're not ever going to drill for more oil and gas, but certainly the wells that they've drilled already could be utilized for this geothermal technology. So it hasn't been a waste of time and money and effort, but also revenues generated from that partnership could be used to fund further exploration and drilling. It's not like they don't believe that The oil and gas still exist. They do. Last year, a year ago this time, we saw the images. They were at NAPE promoting it. But of course, it's all a fraud, right? Are you going to buy the second largest booth available and park it on a main thoroughfare directly across from Chevron, Devon Energy, and EQT? If what you've got is a fraud, of course you're not going to do that. You don't think people in the industry are going to walk around and be able to sense that? Of course they are. They have nothing to hide. They put it out there. But guys, knowing now that we know that this deal was in place, I think it shades and colors the actions of the company in a different way, but also our adversaries. And it does beg the question: was this a coordinated effort? Because it does not make sense that the University Lands would walk away with this, knowing that this deal was in place, knowing the 10x offer on the royalties, knowing the price per acre to renew. It was guaranteed money in their pocket. And the notion that we were concerned about funding, you don't think geothermal systems and Meta come with funding? But that also begs further questions about the S1 and the purpose of the S1. And I've opined on that before, so I won't opine on that here. But is there a coordinated effort? And does that coordinated effort go through the SEC, potentially our adversaries in the MMTLP situation? And I mean those that are on the short and the wrong side of this thing. Is it potentially competitors within, the industry? And is Congress somehow involved and acting on behalf of any of those entities? Certainly something that needs to be fleshed out and investigated. But like everyone else, I'm looking out for more information. We always say the more time you give, the more we dig.
I'm starting to think now, what is out there for a medium to large geothermal companies already in business, and could they conceivably be putting their thumb on the button and wanting what NextBridge has? Because in my mind, I always thought there was a big oil company that wanted them, but what if there's a big geothermal systems already in business that wants them cheap?
Well, and like Grace said, as of right now, we have no evidence that those leases have been released to anyone, or that any movement in action of any kind has been had on those leases, or what communications may or may not be happening with NextBridge. But all I know, guys, and we don't, Captain, unfortunately, we just don't have any evidence until something comes out. Those leases are public. And so if there is some sort of lease, then that could certainly be a potential indication for us to dig into. But it just doesn't make sense. And it never made sense that after this amount of time working with this company, and now knowing that this is on the table, that this was on the table, and potentially that NextBridge was offering all of these accelerations and incentives, this sweetheart deal. It just doesn't make sense, Captain. It doesn't. And by the
Yeah.
way, it doesn't have to be one. It could be multiple forces acting. Could potentially some of our adversaries right here in social media be connected or affiliated with the company that's trying to steal those leases? While at the same time, guys, they're telling you that it's worthless. There's no oil. There never has been, and there never will be. And everybody in the industry knows it.
Yeah, I see Bagelman's had his hand up for a while.
Yeah, I was just going to jump in and say, it's definitely interesting that we have people that are wasting their time with us. If we want to think that we're wasting our time. They like, what's the point? Don't you have lives that you'd rather be productive in outside of something you said is a fraud? I don't understand what the point of being here is, to just try to
Yeah, Bagel Man.
throw a branch in a bicycle spoke.
Yeah, Bagel Man, I understand. Like, you got people streaming, a bunch of people streaming a space on a Saturday morning for a company that only has 2.65 million shares. The assets we don't have as of right now, but they're streaming in the fucking space. It makes you wonder. It makes you wonder. And I will tell you, over the last 24 to 48 hours, I feel like the positive news that's coming from this community is just fucking steamrolling this other side, and they don't know what the fuck to do. Just my opinion.
Well,
Steph,
and we talk about this all the time, Torch.
sorry, did that by accident. Sorry, Junk. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Who's really wasting their time? You've been here for 2 years. Some of you are claimed to be shareholders, some of you not. Some of you are lying. But you're saying that it's worthless, it's game over, it's done. You guys are pathetic for being here for 2 years, wasting your time with Congress, which we know that ain't true. So what's more pathetic here? That we're here wasting our time fighting for a resolution, or that you're here wasting your time pointing out that we're wasting our time and fighting against our resolution?
Yeah, I feel like we both have something to lose here. Just my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel like they have a side. They need their side to win, or it could be the demise of some of the people that I'll just leave it at that. Steph,
Hey, good morning, everybody. How you doing, Torch?
I'm doing pretty good. A rough week, but great last 24 to 48 hours. Incredible news with the
Yeah,
stuff that Kurtis found. It's absolutely phenomenal. It really is. And then the stuff that Junk said today, Gray said. I mean, it's just absolute. The positive news just coming right now. It just lifted up my morale, and I'm pretty sure it lifted up everybody else's. And it sparked a lot of fucking emotions for the shills streaming in a space with 35 people right now.
Torchlight, I think you've got Trevor to thank hugely for a massive amount of information and the effort that he's put in on those foyers to university lands. I'm pretty sure there's still lots he hasn't released, but yeah, I think Trevor has just been absolutely monumental in getting that, and it's a huge effort, and it's a big success.
Yeah, I appreciate the whole community. I really do. Like I said, this community has just been incredible. And, when people have bad days or bad weeks, the other part of the communities, we continue to fight. And it's just absolutely remarkable. The resilientness, the relentless of this community to just fight for our resolution and justice is incredible. Ma Duke, how you doing, brother? Go ahead, Junk.
Sorry, guys, I keep getting kicked out. Sorry about that. I don't even know what you did and didn't heard here, but of course, guys, as new information comes out, as I said earlier, I get flooded with all of the different things coming to my mind. Recent rumors about actually some of our adversaries in the community be connected to bad actors in this situation. I go back to Pete Sessions and Hilltop, of course, Hilltop being a third party counterbroker for Schwab. I hope you guys are seeing this as too, and certainly more questions than answers. And I just really hope and pray, irrespective of our resolution, that law enforcement gets involved and really tries to investigate these connections. And yeah, any documentation that you have. I heard Captain earlier say document, document, document. Captain, I sent it to you. I don't know if you had a chance to put it up in the nest, but I had posted a long time ago about how you can document your entire X feed. You can archive it. It's not difficult, guys. It's 1, 2, 3 clicks. If Captain, if you don't put that out, I'll go ahead and repost it again. But
Yeah,
please
I put it up
archive,
there.
archive everything. You can do it more than one. It takes 24 hours. It gives you access to all of your posts, your space recordings, and everything. So certainly, as there seems to be a lot of glitchy going on with our spaces and content as well. I know I've posted a few things that just boom disappeared. It could just be coincidence. It may not be, but let's make sure that we are cataloging and because you and documenting, because you never know when any of this might be vital to a potential criminal investigation. Because there's definitely some crime going on here at multiple levels, guys, multiple levels. And certainly with the change in administration and a posture towards rooting out criminal activity, this is certainly, guys, we've run the numbers in our heads before. We've run the numbers, we've talked about it ad nauseum, and I'm not going to throw out numbers here because I have no idea. But look at the fraud that was just uncovered in USAID. That's $40 billion of fraud. The MMTLP fiasco is much, much bigger than that. So when we claim that it is potentially the crime of the century, the financial crime of the century, that is not hyperbole. That is not hyperbole. The more that we uncover about how many liabilities there could really potentially be out there, as opposed to, the estimates and information that we've heard from 600 billion to, or 600 million oversold to even more than that,
Junk,
into
did you
the
have a chance
billions.
to watch that video? Sorry to cut you off.
I
Did you have a
did. No, I
you
did. I'm sorry.
you
I didn't
did?
message you back. I did watch it.
What do
Yeah,
you think?
absolutely.
It's mind blowing, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And that's before we
Yeah,
ever got to
it's big.
MMTLP.
I know.
That's before we ever got
I
to
know.
MMTLP.
By the way, I did send that off to the same person that requested a brief from me about the shorts in the last 2 weeks rolling into the Rev merge. So I did forward them that video as well.
Well,
So
thank you. I
yeah,
appreciate it.
I did. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to not let you know that I did that, but
Oh,
I
I don't
did.
care. I don't care. I just wanted you to get it in your hands if you could
Yeah,
give it to somebody else. And
I
then for
did.
people like you that just got into MMTLP or like the last week or two, you guys didn't know the severity of how big the short position could be even before we got to MMTLP. That's how this has been going on for years. And what makes me think that they actually covered it all? But just minimum could be just 3 to 4 times the float before TRCH got into MMTLP. But then mind boggling, and I'm talking about TRCH FTDs. If you haven't seen the video, you need to watch it. People listening, imagine if it is 10 to 20 times the float before we got to MMTLP. I'm not saying it is or it isn't. I just want a certified aggregator audited motherfucking share count and then we can find that out. But it is massive. And that video is pretty detailed too. And I was just happy that somebody like you that has been fighting so hard for this community actually saw something with some data from the back, from the original Torchlight. So thank you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I was asked to confirm some of that data. So I dug into the daily short reports and confirmed the accuracy of some of that data. Yeah, never ever thought in my life that sentence was going to come out of my mouth. But oh my gosh, you guys. I just bought a stock because I liked it. I like the opportunity, and here we
Yeah.
are, as many of you did. But Torch, I have a lot of sympathy for those of you that have been ride or die for so long, and so I don't want you to think that I don't, just because I came into this late in the game. I certainly understand and have a grasp of the fraud that's continued for so long, and that's why I can confidently say this is going to be the biggest crime of the century. This is going to make, I mean, honestly, guys, even if when they do audit the Department of Defense with its $900 billion budget, I think we're bigger. I
Oh, do you
think we're
remember? You probably
bigger.
don't remember when you first started your spaces. I would come into your spaces a couple years ago, and nobody really knew me. But I kept telling people that I believe this thing is 10 to 20 times bigger than any of you ever thought, just from the years that I saw the fuckery going on. And now that more that you guys, the community, which is phenomenal, the DD, I believe it's fucking 10 to 20 times bigger than I thought it was. It's
And now you know why they needed to make it trade.
yeah.
But here's the problem. We've said many times in the past that they made it trade so that they could cover those liabilities. Maybe they didn't.
Well, no, because they wanted people to
Maybe they
sell.
made it trade because they wanted to continue the crime.
Maybe, but I think it backfired. I think they wanted people to sell, but like me and my 9 or 10 of my friends, we tripled our positions. We bought more. And I can tell you right now on December 8th, I know me and my friends, we put $250,000 into it and bought more shares on December 8th. So maybe we were the only ones that bought.
Oh, Torch. Wow. No, I bought on December 8th, but certainly not $250,000.
No, I'm
Oh my
saying me and a
God.
few of my friends.
I know, but still. Oh,
I could tell you right now, I personally bought the highest amount of shares I did. I bought at $4.43. My average was nowhere near that. And I bought another $20,000 worth on December 8th. Just
yeah.
me alone. Just me alone. And then I could
Well,
tell
and
you,
Torch, here's the thing. As much as the voices tell you how stupid and wrong and greedy you were, all of these actions, including the revelations of today, what I hope to believe are going to be more revelations, even potentially today, is that you were right.
oh,
We
I
were
know, I
all
know.
right.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
It's and then
As
then
much
the
as
other
they
thing
try
is
to
too.
convince us how wrong we were,
Oh, I agree. And
we
then
were right.
you got a veteran, one of my buddies. He put $78,000 of his 401k, and he passed away. His family needs that money, now or eventually. Obviously, he put that in there, and he bought 10,000 more shares at $7.80 at the beginning of the day on December 8th. That's just two people right there, totaling close to $100,000, just the two of us. And then there's other orders that came in too. And that's a veteran that fought for this country. And
But
you,
don't worry, Torchlight, that there's only 0.03% on that day that they would expect to be FTDs. Only 0.03%.
yeah, I know. It's just crazy. Well, hey, I know we got a couple other, it's crazy. I know we got a couple hands and I really want to get to it. Steph, Stock Vader, and then,
Muskoka.
yeah, go ahead, Steph.
Hey, good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Well, I wanted to say, and I echo what you said before with this community, and I very much appreciate and thank you all. I also, again, I think it was Junk that was saying, if there's something that's worthless, then why are certain people still here? Um, if the land was worthless, why wouldn't they take that deal? I mean, it's shocking. It's just absolutely shocking. Um, and again, if people want to claim that it's worthless, they're still here and they're still just putting up barriers and causing challenges, then clearly there's something else happening. What I know, what is worth, is fighting for the truth and fighting for transparency, and individuals like you, other shareholders, other people who purchase the stock for whatever reason, whether you like it or you're an OG, that's what's worth it. That's what, because clearly, as each and every day passes and this community works together, there's just another layer over and over again where probably in the very beginning of all this, I had a high level of skepticism, but as I learned, similar to my level of knowledge and understanding has increased, and things unfolded, but my level of skepticism, let's say regarding Greg McCabe, is now at an all-time zero. I'm not skeptical. I haven't been skeptical for a while, but you clearly see the proof that he's fighting just as hard, if not harder, for the company. And so just remind yourselves of this, of information like what came out and also what Kurtis shared. And yeah, it's, how do you say it up in Boston? Fucking huge. How do you say it up there?
This is fucking huge, but that's decent.
Uh, by the way, I got to tell hey, little man, don't ever say what daddy just said. Yep.
No, but I agree. Uh, this community is just incredible. The resilientness, and I really think we are making history. And I'll be the first one to say the pain and suffering is unlike anything else that I've ever felt dealing with this. And I know I couldn't get through it without all of you. And I don't think we've had a Saturday space like this on a Saturday, but I just feel like we're moving in the right direction. It's not the exact stuff we want yet, but I just feel like it's gonna come. It really is. It's just I feel it deep inside of me.
And real quick, that's the other part that lights me up is that it's unjust harm and pain and suffering. It is not right.
No, it isn't. Stock Vader, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that I bought MMTLP on the last day. I bought leading up to the last day, and a buddy of mine bought on the last day. He bought $25,000 worth on December 8th. Uh, I thought I could read a corporate action when it said the last day to buy was December 8th if I wanted rights to the dividend of Nexbridge Hydrocarbons, and orders executed after the 8th would be rerouted and canceled, so you would not receive the dividend after the 8th, but you could sell your shares if you chose to. I learned a lot about how the financial system works, and I'm continuing to learn more and more daily. I had no idea what Frannie Mae and Freddie Mac were until recently, but back long ago, the stock was at about 72 bucks, and it got shorted down to the vicinity of $16 and $19 respectively back in 2008. And at that point, the SEC put out a ban on naked short selling on these two particular stocks. And from then, at that point, they went down to 19 cents and 16 cents. That was 2008. This is 2025. So I've heard a lot of the conversation today, but I have missed a bunch of it between doing loads of laundry and talking to the family. But has anyone talked about NewCo? Has anyone remember NewCo? It was a term that was used after OilCo.
Yeah, are you talking the subscription rights offering, Nuco?
Yes, the one that
Yeah.
the SEC said, no, we won't approve this because you actually have to show financials and what the potential company is and or what they intend to do,
My guess is they want
i.e.
those up.
Sage Geosystems, which was talked about with metamaterials way before any of this was brought to light. Metamaterials was one of the technologies going to be used in GeoSage because they could extract more heat and more energy and more power.
Let me ask you, was the notification from the SC or the notification from NextBridge the presentation that Greg McCabe gave to University Lands, all the slides. So I don't know if you wanted to go ahead and go through that. I put it up in your nest already.
Yeah, we definitely can't. What will happen? We'll go to Musco, I believe. I don't even know how to pronounce it. And then either after you go, we'll have you go, and then either Junk or Insane Can, because I need to go check on my staff. I'm actually, I just opened up a quick space, but this turned into something so much more. And a lot of you may know, well, I think I'm actually running a business right now in one of my conference rooms running this space because this is more important to me than working. But that's how much I
Thanks a lot,
have
Coach.
invested into this situation, as we all do. So go ahead, sir.
Thanks, Torch. Appreciate it. Just a quick question for Junk. Maybe you can help me. So MMAT, Torch, I owned it all. I'm all transferred to NBH. Uh, all my NBH is at Equinity. But anyway, I received a letter from the United States bankruptcy judge. Now, before December the 19th, the deadline, I had already done what was suggested. I liked the idea of it. I printed off all my trading documents and with that proof of interest, mailed it to the Nevada court. So I was in there before that. But I just received this letter and I just wanted to check, is the proof of interest form that we use the same one as that's referenced in this letter, which is
Yes,
their
we
local
use
court document?
the proper proof of interest, but probably what it is a letter from them telling you to redact your information. Is that correct?
Right.
Yeah, so what happened, and I can put the documents up in the nest. So what happened, guys, many of you know the deadline to submit your proof of interest forms in the meta bankruptcy case was December 18th, but I had reached out to the court and or rather to the trustee and the trustee's attorney requesting that our documents be placed under seal because of the intimidation and stuff that was
Yeah.
going on with our adversaries who happen to be streaming this space right now. So and the judge at the time decided, no, we're not going to do that. But here's our rules on redaction. And those rules on redaction at the time only allowed one or two items to be redacted, but still required our phone numbers, emails, addresses, and names to still be included. Well, since that time, I believe that the trustee and potentially the court were flooded with complaints saying, hey, look, we're the victims here. We're being victimized all over again. But anyway, the judge has come forth with two additional rulings since then. Yes, she has instructed, number one, the clerk to take any and all POI forms, even if they're deficient. Number two, actually, there were three orders. Number two was that she does not want us including personal information. So, irrespective of what the rules in Nevada are on redaction, she's allowing us to redact any and all personal information. And I believe the order gives specific on that. And then three, she waived the $28 redaction fee. Now, this is important to remember. Don't send your form redacted to the court and expect it to end up on the docket. You have to supply the court with your information, which means if you are going to redact, you need to provide an unredacted copy of your POI and an unredacted copy of your proof of holding. Now, caveat to that, I only need to know what you held in that. Okay, they don't. If you want to include stuff on Torch, of course, Torch spun out into MMAT, but they only need those holdings. They don't need to know that you're holding, X, Y, and Z stock.
Yeah.
So just make sure that you're only demonstrating your MMAT or your Torch stock. Okay, and you don't have to do redaction notices. That okay.
Yeah.
If
So
you are
the
going to
forms.
redact, you then
Yeah.
provide a redacted form, and that ends up on the docket. You also need to provide redacted evidence. So make sure your name and numbers and all that are excluded. And then you also have to provide a notice of redaction, which is a letter that says, I'm redacting this because you judge told me to.
Okay, so it has to be redacted then, because I didn't really care when I sent
Well,
it in. But
I have not redacted mine. Mine is still sitting
no.
there unredacted. I put it in before it was the 12th or something like that.
Yeah.
So I may have gotten a letter, but I'm not to receive it. So
Yeah.
if it's an order by the court, that's one thing. But I think at this point, if it's
Yeah.
already
I'll
out,
read it to
I don't
you. It
care.
says order directing the clerk of court to accept all proofs of interest. So that's the
Yeah,
main order. And then it says parties who intend to file proofs of interest in the above captioned bankruptcy case metamaterials must use the court's local form, which we did.
we did.
Uh, Parties who file proof of interest should not include their full account number or any other personal
Yeah.
identifier. So if
But
I've
if
already
you've
sent
already
it in,
submitted it, you're good.
yeah,
If you
yeah,
would like it
exactly.
redacted
Okay.
and removed from the
No,
court
no,
docket, you can.
no.
I figured mine's out there. If they want it, they're going to get it.
Exactly. It's the last thing I worry about.
Right.
Yeah, went through it with GTII.
Exactly.
Now this,
So,
so it's like no big deal.
but like,
Okay.
if you would like to do it, and for any of you that submitted like me and shareholder did, and you would like to go back and have it pulled and put the redacted up there, make sure that when you submit the whole new package, which will be your unredacted POI, your unredacted evidence, your redacted POI, your redacted evidence, and your notice of redaction, make sure you check that little box above box number 3 that says this is an amendment or a replacement. Don't forget, they're really small. Make sure you check those. But here's the bottom line, everyone. As the trustee and the trustee's attorney had said, the trustee said this: these are placeholders. This case is developing. I believe at some point it's probably going to be expanded to MMTLP. I believe that Wes is going to go for that data. I believe he certainly has legal grounds to get it. And so the trustee said, look, this is a placeholder. Just get it on the list, and we'll deal with it later. So be as accurate as you can. But right now we're not sitting with a deadline over our head. They extended it through 2025, have not given us a definitive date. I believe this case is expanding. But if they do give a definitive date, I'm sure they will give us plenty of time. But as I say all the time, it's better to stay up the first few nights of a project than the last few. So don't delay so you don't stress yourself out later.
Awesome. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks.
Great,
Thanks for giving me the
great
opportunity
space
to
for.
update people as well.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen in. Thanks.
So, Torch, Captain, did you want me or Kurtis to kind of give a summary of where we're at and why we're talking about what we're talking about?
Yeah, it'd be good to update some people that's come in because we've had a lot of numbers rise on the people listening, even the other side. There's a whole bunch on the other side listening, so maybe they need to be educated as well.
Yeah. So, Kurtis, I don't know if you want to jump in and do that or if you want me to tackle it.
Nope, I'm at the gym, so
Okay.
you go ahead. You go ahead.
There's a ball pun in there somewhere. I'm sure there is.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm
so
also
guys,
recording. I got hour and 41 minutes so far.
oh my. I would just beg you guys, if you're going to host spaces, you never know when news is going to drop. If you guys remember, Jarek was hosting a space on April Fool's Day 2023 when I broke in with the news that we had the FOIA drop and it wasn't recorded. So that was an incredible space. Luckily, he was able to make the request through what was still, I think, Twitter at the time, or maybe it was X, and eventually get that space. But yeah, if you guys are going to hold these spaces, please record them because there's always so much good information. Okay, so guys, here's where we're at. There are multiple posts, I'm assuming they're up in the nest, from Trevor, where he posted this morning. And then Red Heels, always fantastic work, posting more and more details. But basically, this is the proposal that Nextbridge and Greg McKay made to University Lands. In that proposal is a revelation. Let me actually go to the screenshot really quick. Give me just a second, guys. So Trevor posted it, as did Res Hales, though she has more of what looks like the presentation. On August 26, 2024, Sage Geosystems announced their agreement with Meta Facebook to provide geothermal energy for their data center growth. NextBridge has entered into an MOU with Sage Geosystems for this same proprietary geothermal technology with rights in Hudspeth County. So, what that indicates, guys, is just weeks before University Lands made the decision to strip Nextbridge Hydrocarbons of the Oro Grande lease, that Nextbridge had cut a deal to provide wells for the geothermal systems to supply Meta and their data centers. Now, if you guys remember Mark Zuckerberg, Sam, I always get Altman and the other guy mixed up, but OpenAI's Sam had made announcements that they were looking at, increasing the amount of data centers to run AI systems and things like that. Those have incredible power needs. These data centers, quite frankly, from an architectural standpoint, are horrendous. They're massive, they're ugly, they're highly utilitarian. And so the likelihood of them being placed in areas like this, Texas, eastern New Mexico, is high, where there's not a lot of residential areas. But anyway, Nextridge had signed an MOU to support Sage Geosystems to Meta's data centers.
Oh, you're breaking up, Junk. I remember the president talking about he wants to get into AI and build huge AI centers or whatever. But yeah, this thing's happening everywhere. Are you back, Junk? Oh, she better look out a window to see if somebody out in the outside's in a black SUV with a big array to block her. Oh, she's gone.
The time is 12:00 p.m.
Ha! But no, this morning's been hot. Super space. I noticed in the comments somebody said that, oh, well, even if at Nextbridge, basically he said if Nextbridge had the original agreement back, that it would not cover geothermal. But the thing is in my mind, you're going to be taking stuff out of the ground still. So I'd like to say, I don't know, that's above my pay grade. You back, Junk? Ruh-roh. No, Junk, can't hear you. Somebody's blocking her. Approve. Let's see if we'll try it again.
Oh my, it
Oh,
just keeps happening, Captain.
you
This is
know,
what,
after
5
all these
now?
last couple of years of you doing these spaces, the glitches have gotten worse in the last couple of weeks.
I know, it's all my fault.
Yeah.
So I don't know where I left off, guys, but basically, weeks before the Ora Grande leases were stripped, NextBridge inked this MOU agreement with Sage Geosystems to provide wells in order to execute the energy that's needed for Meta's data centers. So when you look at that in context of everything else that has happened and the communications and the criticisms and the narratives about McCabe and Nextbridge and bankruptcy and there's nothing out there and it's worthless and all this, this throws in the face of all of that. And so we still don't know the status of what may or may not be happening with the leases. Of course, Gray pointed out this morning from the PR with Nextbridge that they were requested by University Lands to terminate immediately. They denied that request. So again, we hope that conversations are continuing, potential legal action in the future, or maybe University Lands under a new pro-energy administration may capitulate and restore those leases. We just don't know, guys, at this point. But what we do know is this is Greg McCabe's proposal to University Lands. Now, put this in context. If you look at Trevor's posts, and all the people, thank you to all the people that have reached out to the Texas Information System to get these details, right? But it looks like McCabe offered a sweetheart deal, 10x the royalty agreement, which previously was 134,000. He was offering to 10x that to 1.34 million. Guys, that's on an annual basis. He also provided an additional $1 million, according to the information that they've posted, $1 million in addition to the $50,000 deposit that they made for the capping of wells. So he increased that. The $25,000 per acre, I believe he also increased that, which was the renewal rate, which at $25, 134,000 acres is, I believe, 3.35 million. So all of this information flies in the face of the narrative that, number one, Next Bridge lost the leases on purpose, that this is all an effort to cover up, a decade's worth of fraud, and that there is nothing of value in the Oro Grande, and everyone in the industry knows it. Well, if that's true, then why would this company be willing to pay tens of millions of dollars to secure those leases? And if indeed University Lands knew it was worthless, why wouldn't they take that deal? So again, guys, more questions than answers. But what this ultimately says to me is this is not a good reflection on University Lands. They're out there at NAPE right now shopping their leases and whatever at the NAPE Summit. Not to say that they're shopping the Oro Grande. I have no evidence of that in any way. But they go to NAPE every year to say, hey, these are our properties that are, available leases. And would you, if you were a member of the industry, think a little bit differently before getting into a lease agreement with them, knowing that something like this is potentially going on? This is not a good look for University Lands. But what it really does look like, guys, is that they negotiated or didn't negotiate in bad faith. So here you have them notify University Lands that they were 5 years delinquent on their royalty payments, which we've discussed many times how that does not make sense. And I discussed it a little bit earlier this morning. And then Greg McCabe addresses it and appears to deal with their concern and say, hey, no problem. Sorry, oversight. And by the way, here's a sweetheart deal. 10 times what you were asking for this property. And look, we've got a deal in place with Sage Geosystems, who has a deal with Meta. And guys, that's not MMAT, that's Meta. Facebook Meta. Something is wrong. Something is wrong. None of this, what is it they say? Make it make sense. It doesn't make sense. And there's so much more information that we need to know. But what is clear, also, guys, go back and reread the PRs and the statements and the emails that we've seen in the last few weeks from Greg McCabe. He talks about transitioning. He talks about a bright future. This is what he was talking about. We didn't know. He knew. Apparently, our adversaries may have known too.
I'm kind of curious.
So, did I miss anything?
No. Well, I'm just kind of curious. How do you pay royalties on gas and exploration when you're not getting money in? You're supposed to get money in, and then you pay royalties on the money you receive. Is that how it works?
Oh, yeah, typically, but in the lease agreements, now you guys know these leases have been renewed. They get renewed almost every 5 years, depending on the terms of the leases. But in the initial lease period, it's part of the lease, but they did not have to pay those royalties in the initial lease period. But as a payment to hold the leases, is they had to pay $134,000 a year. Okay, which is what
$1 an acre. Oh, did we lose her again?
Yep.
oh my gosh.
You better look out your
Yeah,
window.
it's interesting the timing of when the interference happens. It's never when we're flipping pancakes, doing dishes, talking laundry, Girl Scout cookies. It's always in an interesting point.
Guys, I'm
Abby?
really sorry, Torch, that I've jacked with your space this morning. Oh my gosh. So, Captain, I was explaining that as part of their renewal on the first initial term, yes, they were required to pay $134,000 royalty. And if they had gone into production and the amount of production, the royalty interest at University Lands exceeded the 134,000, then they would have to pay the escalated price. But yes, in order to maintain those leases, they needed to pay $134,000 a year. I believe it was due January. It's either 2nd or 20th of the year. Somebody can check those leases. But here's the thing, and I've spoken about this before. Yes, NextBridge owed it. Yes, they owed it. So did Meta. So did potentially Founders and Mavericks, the holder of the leases before. And they all missed it. But you know who else missed it? University Lands. Was there any communications, and all evidence demonstrates or lack thereof that there wasn't any communications from University Lands prior to the letter earlier last year to Greg McKeon in deal? Was there any communication from University Lands to say, hey, we missed your royalty payments. Hopefully it's an oversight. Can you send us a check? You guys know you miss your mortgage payment within 10 days, you're getting notified, right? You miss your car payment, same thing. Did University Lands have an obligation to say, hey, you owe us money? Let's settle this now so it doesn't escalate into a bigger problem. So did they neglect to do that, or did they overlook it as well? So lots of questions that I have there that still have not been answered. But the bottom line is that they did owe the money, and there were penalties and fees associated with it. And I believe, let me look through the documentation, but Greg McCabe did indicate that he had addressed their concerns. So that says to me that he was more than willing to pay that. Yeah, so that's what it said to me. But again, guys, more questions than answers at this point. But if indeed everyone in the industry knows this land is worthless, if indeed there is no oil and gas to be found, and you've got a company who has an MOU agreement with a company who's working directly with Meta to provide geothermal energy for their data centers, that could be a windfall, not only for NextBridge and us, the investors, but could also be a windfall for University Lands in terms of royalties. You walk away, plus with all of the escalated terms of the agreement that NextBridge put forth that we now have evidence of. I encourage you guys to go through and read through that information. Also, there's some really great diagrams about geothermal, and I'd encourage you guys to look into that more. But it just seems to me that University Lands was not operating in good faith. Is it possible they experienced interference that we have, number one, documented, number two, has been bragged about on Spaces and posted on X? Did they potentially receive interference? Did they go seeking out a problem in order to justify the stripping of these leases? Again, guys, lots of questions, little answers at this point, but as this information continues to trickle out, we will try to keep you guys posted. And again, we don't know what legal action NextBridge is taking at this point. We don't know if communications are continuing with University Lands. We don't know if potentially there is outside influence to our detriment or to our benefit. You know, there was discussion earlier that we have a pro-energy growth administration. You know, could there be some influence there? Could we potentially see University Lands change their mind? Or do we see them release this property to a potential competitor that wants to develop it for this purpose? So many questions, but something is not right. Something is not right here. But also, I would encourage you, if you have any questions about whether NextBridge is sustaining this company and working on behalf of investors, go back and listen and reread carefully the language in the previous PRs and public statements and filings. We are transitioning, expanding our business model. This is why. This is why. Now, also let me caveat that to say that just because they explored and secured this deal in order to develop geothermal energy, it doesn't mean that there's no oil and gas there. It doesn't mean that at all. It just means that they are transitioning the company to expand into sustainable energy production. Potentially, royalties and fees associated with that agreement could fund additional oil and gas drilling. And we haven't even mentioned the 40 million share offering. This deal with Sage and Meta could potentially have meant a large cash infusion into the company, which begs me to think, had the leases not been denied and potentially interfered with, did he really need the money from the 40 million shares? Or was there another strategy involved in those as well? Nothing new, guys. We've talked about this before. So just a reminder, as we get new information, it just floods my mind about all the things that we've seen before, and it just colors a new meaning. So I was about to throw the mic to Jonna. It's not my space.
No, hey,
Sorry, Captain.
please
Bad habit.
listen. You just go ahead. I don't even mind you doing it. It just brings me back to Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I think it's awesome that this is this productive of a space that I know that is helping out morale because it's helping out mine and a lot of other people in this community right now. So go ahead.
No, Torch. People come here because it's your space, but I'm happy. I'm happy to help out in any way. But Jonna does have her hand up, and honestly,
And
guys,
you
I'm still
actually
trying to
got
put my
me in on
thoughts
a
together.
Saturday.
I know. Me too. Me too.
I don't do weekend spaces because of the drama, but honestly, I'm elated with the information that's come out. And I think it just goes back to know what you own, know the value of what you bought, why you bought it, and the conviction that we need to have to win. At the end of the day, we know there's an oversold position. We knew what the value of the company was going back to Torch, because I'm a Torch OG as well. So I know Torchlight has said this a million times. He knew what he bought. He trusted in McCabe. And I'm in the same boat. And I bought more and I doubled down. Not as much as other people did, but I did it. I'm a much more conservative investor than some of you people. But at the end of the day, know what you own and realize it is a weekend. So the shills will be out in force to counter all of this information. Know what you can control. You can control the noise and you can control your actions. And what we need to continue to do is put the pressure on, expose the criminals, and get ourselves paid. And that's what we need to do. So remember, why you were put here is to be the voice, be the action, and get it done.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it any better than that. That's exactly it. Hey, GameStop, do you want to talk? I see you.
Yeah, I was just going to echo Jono's points. I mean, there's a reason why we are all here. We are going to make change happen. This is going to come out favorable for us. We are going to uncover the corruption. If you don't have conviction, look where we are now. We have moved mountains and we will continue to. The administration is favorable now. I mean, the fact that people are holding spaces trying to contradict what we're doing for 2 years, that should be conviction enough. It's completely laughable. It is ridiculous. It is insane, to put it lightly. And I get so much joy posting on LinkedIn and calling out these criminals. It is so much fun. And whether you use LinkedIn or not, you don't have to be sinister like me per se, but you can also share Kristen Shaughnessy articles in your feeds. So, anyways, yes, it's the greatest time to be alive. Don't lose conviction.
CC, go ahead.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Yes, I've been listening for quite a while now, and I have a question. So I don't know who can answer this. So after we lost the land leases, I know immediately, we all reached out to our reps and that type of thing, and we were getting pushback, and we still are to some degree, but especially with our reps saying, hey, well, you don't have the land leases anymore. Why do you care? What difference does it make? Blah, 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 blah. Why are you still pushing for transparency? And of course, our response was, well, because it has nothing to do with the counterfeiting of our shares. Okay. So my question is, with this new information, do we have a new community initiative? I mean, are we to take this now and go back to those reps, new reps, whatever, and say, hey, look, this is what's going on? What do we do with this information from this point forward?
Please, somebody that's at higher than me. Curtis, Junk, what do you think? Anything?
CC, I would absolutely use that information, and I know exactly what you're referencing and who you're discussing in that response, and they are as sus as it gets, in my opinion. And their day one involvement before there was ever an issue is evidence enough for me, and that's if I didn't have additional knowledge of additional suspicious activities from that representative that you are referring to. So I would. Certainly not a foregone conclusion that people will remain to be an obstacle, but I would absolutely present the information because it shows. Again, you could reference the information that was brought to light weeks ago in a prior granted information request, might or might not be in the rep's state, and which shows evidence of threats, right, that were being actively purported by people that are wishing to interfere, right? Even threats to family members and schools. So should have a vested interest in that, but then also just showing, okay, this is blatant evidence that there is likely interference, not circumstantial, but likely interference with business activities, capital formation, all things that support. If we had to take it back, I think everyone probably knows who we're referring to, but I'm not going to say it.
I did. I said it
I'm not
earlier.
going to say it. So, but if you rewind everything, and you think of what it took to get and prompt a letter, what it took to prompt concern to reach out to FINRA to issue an initial corporate action, doesn't this more than prompt a next level action, congressionally authorized action? I think it's more than justification for doing so, especially with a situation that directly affects your constituents. You are more than informed. I would argue the most informed individual within Congress. And yet, where are we? What has been done out of that office in particular? There's a lot there, but CC, to answer your question, yes, you absolutely should leverage this information and demand accountability. I think it's going to come one way or another, whether it involves that office or not. But one way of creating a sense of urgency is for that to be known, right? So you are certainly not limited to only reaching out to your direct representative. You're certainly not limited to only reaching out to representatives. You can reach out to senators. You can. We have people in Europe that have been reaching out daily, scheduling meetings. You're not limited to just your rep. So but I would let that rep know. I would let that rep know what's come out, what's come to light. It was granted. Those information requests are granted by the state attorney general, Ken Paxton. So that office is who authorizes those releases. Leverage it.
Also to your state attorney generals and your state securities divisions and things like that as well. But, primarily in DC, because of course that is where we've got our most momentum. So.
Thank you, guys. I'm on it. Thanks.
Well,
Captain,
go
if you
ahead.
don't mind, in Robin's post, she outlines the 6 issues that the university lands. So, of course, they had addressed issues with NextBridge, and NextBridge addressed those in their response, in their proposal. And so here are the 6 issues. Number 1, required filing with the university land. Erica Davis of MBH has worked with Redacted of UL to make sure we have filed all required forms and data. We are current and fully compliant with all reporting requirements with the university lands. So they already fulfilled that. Number 2, required filings with the Texas Railroad Commission. Linda Johnson of State Oil Reports on behalf of MBH has worked closely with the reporting department of the Texas Railroad Commission. We are current and fully compliant with all reporting requirements with the Railroad Commission. Of course, narratives galore about how NextBridge has not filed their appropriate reports. Well, apparently they have. Annual technical review with University Lands. The MBH technical team, led by Mike Zabrowski, had a technical review via Microsoft Teams on August 27th, 2024, with multiple members of UL in attendance. NextBridge is prepared to provide any and all data discussed in the meetings or to reconvene in Houston for a follow-up technical review, if so desired by University Lands. Number 4, payment of minimum royalty fees. On May 3rd, 2024, NextBridge received an email from Redacted of UL regarding the non-payment of minimum royalties as outlined in the original oil and gas leases. The amount owed as of date of this email was $1,144,780.09 plus continued interest accrual. Upon execution of a mutually agreed upon extension of the drilling development unit, NextBridge Hydrocarbons will deliver a check to UL for the full amount of minimum royalty payments plus interest. 5, possible plugging liability for university lands. Redacted expressed concerns to McCabe and the university lands could be left with significant plugging liabilities in the event NextBridge Hydrocarbons goes bankrupt. While MBH has our required plugging bond with the Railroad Commission, we will secure an additional $1 million. Guys, that's 20x. The requirement was 50,000, I believe. 1 million is 20x. Plugging bond within 6 months after the execution of the mutually agreed upon extension of the drilling and development unit. Ironically, it is important to note that agreeing to extend the drilling and development unit is the single best way for the university lands to allay the concerns of Redacted regarding any potential MBH bankruptcy. Number 6, a lack of royalty income for the university lands. MBH understands the concerns of the university lands regarding the lack of royalty income on the Oro Grande project to date. As previously stated, MBH believes we have accomplished the required groundwork to put this project into exploitation mode, and royalty income will be forthcoming in the university lands in the very near future. As such, MBH will agree to increase the annual minimum royalty payments tenfold to $10 per acre, assuring the university lands will receive a minimum of $1,340,000 per year of royalty income. So, guys, these were the 6 concerns that were communicated to NextBridge from university lands. NextBridge, as you can see, responded to every single one of them. Now, let me also make a point. When I was listening to this 10x, so, as I discussed earlier in response to your question, Insane, they were required to pay $134,000 a year as part of their original lease agreement in order to secure the leases on an annual basis. Once NextBridge was producing and delivering royalties to university lands, once it surpassed that $134,000, then they would no longer pay the $134,000 and they'd be paying the escalated rate. Who's to say that they would be producing a significant amount of royalties? What Greg McCabe is doing here is saying, we're going to give you not $134,000 a year, we're going to give you a $1.34 million a year guaranteed royalty payment. NextBridge, with what they have, even if they were producing, probably would not have produced that much royalty interest for university lands. This is the better deal. This is the better deal. It's guaranteed. which again, guys, just brings up more and more speculation about what University Land's motive here. Were they operating in good faith? Greg McCabe addressed their issues. Did they enter negotiations in good faith? Did they seek out via interference these unpaid royalty payments as a lying in wait? It's a legal term. Look it up. So many questions, but definitely investigation needs to happen. And I believe it needs to happen right here on social media.
Oh, they got you again.
Yeah, Junk, you got to repeat that. They got you. They don't like this. They don't like it. Please come back. They do not like it, and I want to hear it. And I know everybody else does. Please
Yep.
come back. And I'm sorry, this is not a fucking coincidence. It is not a
Yep.
coincidence at all. Right when she gets to fucking some important stuff, this is not a coincidence.
No. No. And you think about it, I got a car and I've been letting you use it. You give me $100 a day, but now I want my car back. But you're going to offer me $1,000 a day. I'm going to fucking take it. So there's some big boys in the background, a lot of money.
Oh, 100%. Junk, go ahead. Keep your thought. The
Guys,
last 30
I'm
seconds, we didn't get
so
you.
sorry.
No, it's not you. I don't think it is you. I'm sorry. I don't believe in all
Well,
these
it's not me
coincidences.
because I host 4 or 5 hour spaces every morning and don't have this problem, or 3 days a week not having this problem. So anyway, guys, but here was my point. Is there needs to be investigation. There are more questions than answers. This does not make sense. Everything is above board. And University Lands was justified in all their communications and their decisions. Then they shouldn't have a problem with opening up and answering some of these questions. What communications, if at all, did the University Lands Board have with any of the people within this community, or not in our community, but here on social media, that have bragged about being in communications with them for 7 years? Have bragged about it, have privately disclosed those communications. What communications, if any, were had with the SEC and the denial of the approval of the 40 million share offering? What communications, if any, were had with particular Congress people? I don't know, one who has an affiliation to a company that has major liabilities in this situation, that may or may not happen to have an operative right here in social media trying to defeat this community. What communications were potentially had with members of the Department of Defense who also has contracts with SAGE, and potentially with members of the Department of Energy or any relation to that? Were those communications reasons for slow rolling the transparency that this community has been begging for almost 2 years? Were people, I'm going to say he's not in Congress anymore, Patrick McHenry, who refused to take any steps towards transparency. Now, guys, admitted he did allow both the open letter and the Fearless 15. I don't think they would have released that without his quote unquote permission, but he didn't sign it. Anybody, has he taken a position anywhere, by the way?
Not that I'm aware of. I'm on recon.
Not in an official capacity.
Right. You always have to caveat that, right, Kurtis? No, guys, so many more questions, but I'm begging. I just, irrespective of our reconciliation, that there is a criminal investigation that starts all the way at the pond scum and goes all the way to the top. Yeah, so many things do not make sense. And MMTLP and NextBridge are always the exception. Always.
I agree. I want to see somebody go out in handcuffs like Madoff was. That's what I want at the end of this. After we have our resolution, that's what I want. If somebody did something wrong, which it seems like there was a lot of nefarious stuff, I want to be sitting on my couch watching that.
They're going to need a lot of handcuffs.
I was just using that as thing, but yes, I would assume a lot. And And I'm hoping Trump just keeps doing what he's doing and Doge does. Because, like I said, I feel like MMTLP, just from what I've seen with Torchlight, I think I don't think it's going to be the tip of the spear. I think it's going to be the whole fucking dagger into Wall Street's heart. That's what I'm praying.
I do hold out some little hope, guys, though. And I think that this disclosure is potentially coming at the right time. As Gray pointed out earlier this morning, in the PR that came from Nextbridge and Mr. McCabe that announced that University Lands has decided to not move forward and requested the termination of the current lease term immediately, that Nextbridge did not agree with it. We, of course, have not seen any PR since announcing any potential litigation, but there was a request for preservation of documents, which is a precursor to potential litigation. Or have we not seen any evidence that conversations are continuing? My hope is that conversations are continuing and that they are coming to some sort of a deal or agreement. Could we potentially see the ultimate renewal of these leases, or do we not? Do we see Nextbridge launch a potentially lying in wait or tortious interference claim? Do we see a new company associated with geothermal sciences, which I would hope not? Do we see another company step forth to either try to secure the lands for potentially geothermal rights or the mineral rights? And I don't know if I said this before, guys, but just as a reminder, Chief Technical Officer of Geothermal Services is a member of the Nextbridge Board of Directors and has been one of the people from the beginning to custodian these leases. As Kurtis pointed out, Robert Lance Cook was, what was that official position? The representative for the preferred shares,
Yes.
Kurtis? Okay. So he repped the preferred shares.
And you're gone again, John.
Yes, you are. Somebody doesn't want you to speak. So I hope you come back. Pinstripe, go ahead. Why we're waiting for Junk? I saw you grab the mic, brother. Pinstripe.
Yeah, I'm here. I had to get the phone out of my pocket.
Oh, okay. No worries.
No, you know what? I saw something up in the nest talking about any, insight on FOIAs. I've really been thinking about this for a week, man. I mean, from what I've seen with this administration, the floodgates for FOIAs have opened. Now, I don't know if, waiting till the new SEC guy gets in there, maybe that changes some things for our side, but I feel like FOIAs is where it's at. There could be that smoking gun where the SEC jumped in and friggin' sent University Land something. Who knows? As far as the whole University Lands thing, I play a little bit of devil's advocate and say, are they or are they not a private entity? And are they not allowed to choose who they want to do business with? Now, we want to all say that there was, bribery on the backside. That's fair, but Torch, if you're my boy and come to me and say, Pinstripe, I'll give you $100,000 not to hire Soups as your fucking janitor, I might take that. Just saying.
No, I understand, but you got to remember that University Lanes has been working with McCabe for 14 years before this. 14 years, and they've worked.
Hey, as the great Danny DeVito said, Torch, money talks and bullshit walks.
No, I do agree with you. I do agree with you
And
at
these
all.
people have fucking big money, and you got to realize University Lands pays for all the Texas universities. I mean, who knows what was offered? You're talking about billionaires. You're talking about, let's just use Ryan, the owner of the Mets as a perfect example. He owns a hedge fund. Let's hand out $700 million in a contract to a player. What could have been offered on the backside? Who knows?
No, we
You're
know.
seeing in the USAID all the corruption that goes on and how they hide shit. They haven't even fucking hit it very well.
No, I'm not saying they haven't, but I'm just saying they did work with them for a lot of years to make sure that they retain the leases. And if this is true, we do, from what we're hearing, 10 times the amount, or maybe 20 times the amount that they were doing, that's a lot. Maybe I know Junk's got her hand up, so I'd like her to maybe, you know, talk to you. Maybe she's got a little something.
Yeah,
Go
no,
ahead, Junk.
I would throw this question for Junk too. Then what I would be curious on is what is the obviously university lands leases to other oil companies. I would ask what the average per acre price that they have. So yeah, it was 10 times whatever the original agreement was, but what is the average now for other oil companies leasing from oil university lands, and is 10 cents per acre that much more than everybody else? That would be important. I feel like that would be a big one.
And honestly, Pinstripe, I don't know. I do know it's public information. You can go out and look at all of the lease agreements surrounding the Oro Grande and see what they're leasing for. But honestly, I don't know. But just to provide some clarity, and then a little bit of, you know, devil's advocate myself, because you guys know I do that. I like to argue with myself more than anybody else. But it was 10 times the royalty that was required on a yearly basis, currently being $134,000 in the $134,000 a year. And then if they were in production, and the amount of production royalties exceeded the 134,000, then they would pay their production royalty fees. So they're offering 10 times guaranteed whether they produce or not. Now there is some question about geothermal. Would that require an additional lease, a different kind of lease, and are the royalties set up differently? That I don't know. This is not my expertise. I will reach out to someone I know in the oil and gas industry and ask them, because currently the previous lease that was held was just for the mineral rights. So there may be some question about whether or not geothermal will require a different type of lease. But yeah, unfortunately, Pinstripe, I don't know that information. As far as the bond that they placed with the Railroad Commission for the plugging of wells, I believe it was 50,000. Greg McCabe offered to up that by $1 million. That was the 20x. The royalty interest was 10x. The bond to secure money for the plugging of any wells was 20x. And then I believe there was also an escalation on the number of wells. Currently, or the previous lease required 5 wells a year. I believe he may have offered up 10 wells a year, so he doubled that. So basically, it was it was a sweetheart deal, guys. And not only that, they had in place an MOU with Sage, who was partnered with Meta, and both of those companies could have potentially invested millions, if not billions of dollars into this project. So any concerns that University Lands might have had about funds in order to move forward, I think were squelched in that as well. So it was, I keep using the term, a sweetheart deal. Guaranteed they were getting 10 times X what the current lease was. So what motivation would they have? Yes, Pinstripe, they are a private company, but an organization like University Lands that funds, I believe it's 8 universities. So it's the University of Texas system, and I think it also includes A&M. So it's not all of the Texas universities. I know mine, my alma mater is not part of that, which happens to be close to this property. But they have an obligation, in my opinion, especially being affiliated with not only the university system, but with the state of Texas, to operate in good faith. And that's what is being called into question here, is were they operating in good faith? It doesn't appear to be that way. It doesn't appear that be the way. And of course, questions still linger. What is the state of the current situation with NextBridge? By the way, guys, I jumped onto another phone, so I hope this one will work better. We'll see if it's really me or my account, or if it's the device. But you know, are there continued communications? Are we going to potentially see it being reconsidered? Will negotiations continue in any way, or is there pending litigation? But none of it makes sense. None of it makes sense unless it is very much MMTLP, and NextBridge is always the exception. and that we were right in everything that we've been arguing, was they were about to experience a reckoning, and they broke their own rules. They broke the law. They conspired together to stop.
Well,
And there we go.
I would say it's
There
your
we go.
Am
account.
I gone again?
I would say it's your account. It's not your device. Just so you know, I say it's the account. I think we got our answer.
Hey Curtis, is it chest day today? It's chest day for me.
It was. I'm headed home, but so Junk is such an amazing resource. You just pull her string and let her go. It's amazing. Hopefully she'll come back up. But anyway, I'm getting ready to drop. I'm glad that this all started a couple hours ago, stopping hearing my voice to talk about this, because it is a huge release to discuss this. So thank you to Trevor and Robin and everybody else that's putting in the information requests. And like Pinstripe said, a lot of these prior rebuttals that we're getting on the FOIA requests, I think a lot of them are likely going to be granted in waves, right? We've already seen that. Anybody that is familiar with Tom Fitton and what he does, I subscribe to a newsletter that he provides. That it actually was just sent earlier this morning, and was reading all of the information requests that have recently been granted that have been on ice in the last 2 years. So this is going to be an era of transparency. One other quick note: I watched a video before I passed out last night. It was about it was an interview where they were discussing how and why USAID became a priority, and how it really showed up on the radar for Doge. And it's because the initial day one executive orders that were signed by President Trump, one of those executive orders was to pause foreign aid, right? Which of course is the base foundation of what USAID is. And so it set off the radar because they continued to function as normal, BAU. And so then they got the microscope up their ass. So it's interesting because I just want everyone to draw a parallel conclusion here. Or maybe you don't, maybe you think I'm full of shit on this, but the leak that came out of the SEC about not opening new probes, okay? And then what may or may not be happening behind the scenes is very interesting. And that also is referenced with the second organization in the weaponization, ending the weaponization of government. It's the DOJ and the SEC that are named. So again, it's going to be important that Paul Atkins is confirmed, right? You need that additional commissioner and obviously the SEC chair, but this is all happening so fast right before our eyes. It's not like a wait and see, or I guess we'll just, no, it's all happening, and it's like light speed. So you have to just take a step back and look at what's already happened, and then do your best to try to project what's going to happen next. But we are absolutely at the front and center of this, so it'll be it's going to be a fun time.
No, it is. Thank you, Kurtis.
Yep. I'll say something else. I'll save it for another time, probably next week. But regarding FINRA's FAQ and then them not clearing through CNS, I mean, just the highlight. I encourage everyone to go back and read supplemental FAQ question number 15, and it's what they basically admitted to, not just with X clearing, but all things cannot be true.
Hey,
It is it is impossible.
Before you go, I have a question. Do you think if there is, I've got my answer, but I just got a question. Do you think if Doge or any of that does an investigation on FINRA and University Lands or anybody gets wind that they're going to start with MMTLP, do you think that's a chance that could bring University Lands to the table with NextBridge again?
Why would it not create more leverage? Everyone's going to have to make a business decision at the end of the day.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
And do you want to be the obstacle? Because you've seen what's happened in the last week to somebody that maintains their status as an obstacle. They get absolutely railroaded. So do you want to be in the headlines for that reason, or would you like to just be swept under the rug and let the microscope move elsewhere? I know what I would do. I know the business decision that I would make, but let's get our popcorn.
I agree. Junk, do you want to touch on that, or do you want me to grab, or I mean, what you were saying before you got disconnected again for like the 12th time in 45 minutes?
I know, guys. I don't know. I was actually discussing with 100 on the space yesterday. You know, can I go to X and say, can you guys clean my followers? Because I think I'm infested. But I know I'm infested, but I don't know how to go in and clean out my followers. But
Yeah, that's
that
why
could
I
be part
just
of the
block
problem.
people that I don't even know. I just block them. I don't even care.
Well, typically, if I get someone following me that looks a little sus, like I don't know, accounts all the way back to June, back to 2009, I usually just kick their follow. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I did want to make some one clarity though. Apparently, people are posting when we're discussing Sage geothermal and Meta. It is not Meta material. I know that we get pretty tunnel vision and we think of it that way. No, this is Facebook Meta. This is Zuckerberg Meta, who has partnered with Geo in order to Sage in order to supply power to their data centers that they're setting up. Now, you guys know Zuckerberg months ago, as well as oh gosh, which Sam is it? It's not Sam Altman. Is it Sam Altman
Yeah,
that's OpenAI?
yes,
Okay.
Sam Altman.
It's Sam Altman and Sam Ackman that I keep getting confused. So Sam Altman, of course, made the announcement with President Trump that them and a couple other people are going to be putting, a couple other companies are going to be putting forth $500 billion. And you guys remember, Elon Musk came out and said, "Bullshit, you don't have the money." But you know that these data centers are going to be set up. They're going to be set up in remote areas so that they don't impede on more urban areas. And so they're going to need renewable energy in order to fulfill their energy supplies. And what better location than in eastern New Mexico or West Texas? If you guys haven't been through there, it's pretty desolate. You've seen the videos. It's worse than the videos. I know. I went to school out there. Drove that many times back and forth to LA. Yeah, worst part of the drive, honestly. And so, what better location and what better opportunity for a company like NextBridge? Now, I don't know, and I can't tell if it's the utilization of the existing wells that NextBridge has drilled that may or may not potentially have hydrocarbon potential. We know that several of those do not, or if it's going to be a continuing well program. But yeah, it's Meta. It's not Meta Materials. It's Facebook's Meta.
Hey,
so
hey, hold on 1 second, because this is why it's being cross-pollinated. Because in April of 2021, long before you were around, this would be in Torchlight days, and this is before Torchlight and Metamaterials ever consummated, right? There was the agreement, but this is well beforehand. In April 22nd, this is the PR. It's Sage Geosystems, a leader in heat harvesting solutions with modern oil field expertise and methodologies to enable geothermal energy anywhere in the world, and Metamaterial Inc., Meta, a developer of high-performance functional materials and nanocomposites, today announced that Meta has collaborated with Sage to submit a $10 million initial proposal under an open call for the Advanced Research Project Agency Energy, ARPA-E, U.S. Department of Energy. That's why people are talking about it. They're not incorrect. It's just the data center was for Meta Facebook, but there were prior agreements with Meta Materials Inc. So that's why. But you have, again, the commonality there is Robert Lance Cook, who's got a quote and that where he literally says at the end of the PR, metamaterials technology has a potential to deliver breakthroughs across a range of applications and industries, and the unique technologies leverage thin films in transformative ways. Project Pluton has the potential to deliver the precision, cost, and scale required to advance geothermal energy harvesting and drilling well bores.
But Kurtis, Department of Energy, Department of Defense, it's all a fraud.
Right.
Meta was a fraud. Metamaterials was a fraud. Torch was a fraud. MBH is a fraud. Right. And they're submitting
remember,
bids. Go ahead.
Do you remember when we were looking at ticker symbols and they wanted to uplist metamaterials and they wanted Meta, and last minute it was changed and Facebook got Meta? Does anybody remember that?
Yeah, and not only that, I think it was not told to Metamaterials why they wouldn't give them Meta, and then it was weeks or months later
Exactly.
that Facebook made the announcement. Yeah.
Hey guys, I'm going to drop. Thank you, Torchlight and Insane, for hosting this space. There's like almost 400 people in here now.
Curtis, before you go, real quick,
Yeah.
I wanted to grab you. Listen, so on this FOIA thing, what do you think the best option for people who've already gotten FOIA denials is? Do you think it's wait until the SEC powers that be change over? Do you think that they're going to just release the information on the ones that have already been denied? Or do you think go ahead and start resubmitting these FOIAs now? What is your opinion on what the best way to handle that is? Because if a lot of these FOIAs get approved, it's going to be a lot more information, I would imagine.
I'll DM you. I don't want to come off as a conspiracy theorist, but I don't want to give the suggestion under. I don't want to. I know they're streaming it, they're listening, but I think there's a strategy that's pretty foolproof.
That's what I was wondering. Okay, all right, cool.
Yep, I'll
maybe
DM you.
Maybe when we're ready to go public on that, we can do it on Junk Space because she's got 1 million followers.
Yeah, well, the short answer that I will say publicly is all of the above. Certainly, if you have a prior request that's already, you have a line in the water and you're facing the point of appeal of that request, then I would recommend likely holding off on that. You have a specific timeline, a time horizon for those, but there's nothing that prevents an additional FOIA request from being submitted. It's not like a court ruling. So others can present the same information requested in a slightly different lens, and at a later point in time or at the same exact point in time, and maybe achieve a different result.
Hey, Kurtis.
Wasn't there some fine print in those FOIAs that if you was denied, that if you hadn't responded back or appealed within like 30 days, they were going to close it out?
Yes, they will close out the request, but there's nothing to prevent a subsequent request from being generated.
And guys, just really quick, it's a point of information. There is a distinction between a FOIA, which is a Freedom of Information Act that applies to government and government only. Now, we have to FOIA the SEC, and that's how it captured FINRA. You can't FOIA FINRA directly. Now, when it comes to the University Lands communications with anyone, if there was communications with the SEC and University Lands, that could be FOIA'd by the SEC, or it can be requested through the Texas Information Act request system. But I believe that was done by someone and it was denied. And basically they sent it to the FCC and we're like, we'll toss it to them. And of course, they're not going to fess up. So let's make sure that we just make the distinction, because I know that we've been calling the Texas stuff FOIAs. They're not FOIAs. So let's just make sure that we're talking apples to apples when we talk about those. But yeah, it would keep it off the space. You're always listening.
I know
Always.
John had his hand up.
There, it states in the FOIA request there is a 3 rule. If you want to appeal something and you request it 3 times, you will have evidence that they have denied under the 3 rule what is supposed to be public information. It's just my opinion, but the government puts chain of command and rules to help the public prove that they are either intentionally or non-intentionally denying. And a 3 rule gives you the premise that it is the other party doing something more than ignoring or accidentally not seeing it. So that's why the 3 rule is there, because if you give it 1 time and you show up, well, we didn't receive it, you're screwed. I mean, you have no leg to stand on in that situation. So the 3 rule is there for you to say, I've been through that. Now what? Okay. Now they look at the other party. They will not look at you. Does that make sense?
Yep, it does.
Okay,
The
I
time is
posted in the
1:00
nest
p.m.
just for my opinion, just for fun of babbling. The lease agreement and the Texas laws involving the UL leases. There's a couple of things. I don't know what kind of 30-day notices they had, but the lease and leasee, leaseor and leasee, even on the university lands, are pretty much like standard lease agreements. The one thing I would say is a little different is the leasee of the university lands looks to be more of a revenue concerned lease. It doesn't concern as much as like a person being kicked out of their house in the middle of winter and having no place to live. So, with that respect, in my opinion, from what I'm reading, Section 14 of the UL Texas laws in regard to leasing is based off of the rules being violated, and everything in that violation concerns monetary return. Some things, the leasee can break the lease if you've done something unsafe or what have you. But to show what they have shown is we are willing to give you 10 times the amount. Their ass, in my opinion, would have been under the law required a 30-day notice as of like December the 1st of them having another leasee, which we're going to step in January 1st. Without that, it is my opinion, they have a huge case. Now, I've posted also in the nest their one giant problem. It's who you know, just like everything else in a court of law. You go to a different judge, you get a different ruling. If you haven't seen that by now, you've got your head under a rock or in the sand, whatever the case may be. So, in that regard, under the leaseor obligation concerning Texas lands, The UL has in their contract, in their agreement, the one stumbling block. The leasee has the right to deny a jury trial. So think about that. To me, that is a 51% or greater problem they have than anything else. So just food for thought.
Yeah, but John, if I can add to that as well, I think they have a greater problem. I hinted at it a little bit before. Is, they are in the business of raising funds through their leases to fund those, I believe it's 8 universities, part of the University of Texas system, and then I believe A&M is included as well. Not 100% certain about that, but I'm pretty sure. If it gets out that University Lands is acting in bad faith in their leasing program, that's going to be a huge problem for them. A huge problem.
That's my total comment about they should have given them a 30-day notice. We're going to lease it to Shell or Exxon or somebody else at 20 times the rate. They have an obligation under those laws. It says so in there under Section 14 that they need to give a 30-day notice of what the problem is. So like those royalty payments that they were late on, well, they were late for 3 years. And supposedly what I read, they never gave them they weren't worried about them. So now the money thing is a real problem. And the 30-day notices that they failed to do is a giant problem. Their biggest problem is stating, I don't care if Shell or Exxon came to them 2 years prior to the end of the lease. If they did whatever, you can call it backdoor or whatever you want. According to that regulation, the law, the way I interpret it, not as a lawyer, just common sense, it says give them people 30 days notice, you got a new leasee. Period. That's what it
Well, and John,
says.
I believe there's a clause in the lease that also gives them kind of a right of first refusal as well. So if they're notified, as you say, that somebody wants to accelerate the lease terms and take over the leases, I think NextBridge has a clause in there that allows them the opportunity to match it.
Yeah, I don't
It's kind of
see
a right
that.
of first
This
refusal.
is
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see that, but the main thing I'm addressing is the reason to not extend the lease. So
Yeah.
that's more important than the right of refusal and giving them another chance. They have to actually tell them why they're going to cancel it.
Yeah. And of course, as we know, especially from the documents this morning, with a big shout out to Trevor as well as to Robin, is that the only excuse was given is that we deem this is not in our best interest.
Yeah, see, that's the
right.
BS that I'm getting to.
Well, but here's my other point is they if that is the case and it is eventually demonstrated that they had another company that was vying for those leases, Greg McCabe and NextBridge has in good faith addressed the 6 concerns that they had and marched into the process for renegotiating those leases. And if UL knew the whole time they were not going to do that, that's going to be a big problem for them. And then not only that, look at what lying in wait is.
Right.
Again, they claim that these leases were owed royalties for $134,000 a year for 5 years, which of course NextBridge, as they took over the leases, would be responsible for that. But where's the communication to indicate that? Like I've said earlier, John, you and I are late on our mortgage, we get notified. You're late on your car payment, you get notified. You're late on your electric bill, you get notified, then you get it shut off.
Yeah.
Hang on, John. Did NextBridge have and this isn't just for you, this is for everybody that's in here. Did University Lands have an obligation under contract law in Texas, by the way, even if it was not explicitly stated in the leases, that they had an obligation to notify NextBridge? every single year of that lease period, there were meetings between the leaser and the leasee to discuss how things were going, reports were filed, all that kind of stuff. They had ample opportunity to say to the people holding those leases at the time, which of course, guys, we know over the last 5 years, they've changed hands multiple times, currently, or were sitting in the hands of Nextbridge as of last year. That they had an opportunity to say, hey, before we move forward, can you go ahead and pay these leases? We don't know if it's been an oversight or if it's gotten lost in the shuffle, but you kind of owe us this. From what my understanding is, not once has that been done. There has been none of that has been revealed in these emails that have come forth through the efforts of this community. And so then you've got potentially a lying in wait claim. And if you look at the potential interference, the continued interference, by the way, including as of just a few minutes ago, if you look at the continued interference, the tortious interference with this company and with those leases, it all starts to make sense that there is potentially a negotiating in bad faith and a lying in wait claim.
Once again, they had 30 days to tell them that. They had 30 days.
Well, and we're well beyond that.
I
Well
understand.
beyond that.
So their biggest
Yeah.
proof of anything at all, their biggest proof of everything is they have not signed a lease January 1st of 2025 makes them guilty of violating everything in the lease termination of Section 14. In my
Yeah, I'm gonna
opinion.
have to look into that. I'm gonna have to look into that more because when I read them, and admittedly I read them quickly. I didn't like go over them with a microscope. But there is language that's something that is basically they renew those leases at their discretion.
That's not what it's intended to. That's not what I say intended. Like I said, there's the only separation between the leasee and leaseor in leases of any type of land at all in the state of Texas would be like the oil leasing versus a house or a commercial building. And I'm going to use the house as the example. A house is a little bit different only because of the people living in it. So you have a few more laws in there versus what's in the UL leases. There's nobody that lives in the desert out there on the oil fields. So the leasee and the Section 14 of termination was written for the purposes of income concerns, not life-saving aspects. There's safety aspects, but not life-saving. We're going to kick your butt out, or the leaseor can say, because there's actually a clause in the Texas lands where if the leasee doesn't fix the property, you can sue them for 1 month damages and some other things because they didn't fix something that was required. And I own a couple of rental properties, so that's why you have like a 48-hour response time to just tell them that you're fixing to come fix the stuff because their air conditioner cut off, their heater cut off, the water's cut off. That's not in there in UL leases. The primary reason for university to lease land is to make money. They are not making money as of January 1st. They have zero defense on why they terminated with a contract written, a proposal written 9 months prior to tell them January 1st your property's still being leased. They have a giant problem. Now, I'll end with saying one more time again. They have a problem with the point the UL leasee has it rigged. They can deny a jury trial. Period.
Yeah, I know Steve Mahoney grabbed the mic. I don't recognize you. You got anything to say, or I'll take the mic down?
Captain, thank you so much. And Torch, thank you for indulging me this morning. Don't normally do weekend spaces, but I popped in to see what Kurtis was talking about this morning, and of course, all the breaking information. So I think this is great for us, guys. This is bullish. It's certainly more evidence that these are not coincidences, that this is part of a greater scheme to defraud the investors of not just MMTLP, but Nextbridge Hydrocarbons. And maybe now we can begin to understand a little bit more about why Nextbridge has been not silent. They certainly have communicated. And the information that we got today sheds new light on those communications. But hopefully we're going to hear more in the future. But like I said, this does not look good for university lands. And this is going to certainly, if I was working in the oil and gas industry and this information was coming out and they look at this sweetheart deal that was guaranteeing them 10 times what they were currently getting for those leases, guaranteeing. Not only that, if they did the geothermal work, they probably would get royalties off of that as well. So it just doesn't make sense. You can't make this make sense. And the more the ridiculous narratives keep going around, the more silly they are and desperate they are. But certainly, as Kurtis says, leverage this how you can. But sorry, guys, I need food. I rolled out of bed and right into that space. So I'm going to let you guys, toss this about for a bit, and I'll reconvene with you guys on Monday.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I come in here and I haven't eaten yet either, but I got it recorded, and I'll probably open a space in a few hours here and play it over
Well,
because I think
fantastic. Thank you for that, Captain. And Torchlight, I appreciate the mic.
you know, thanks, Junk. Got Lawrence coming in. Steve Mahoney, are you still there?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
This is Steve.
No, I got Steve up on the mic, Lawrence.
I'm okay. Sorry. No, okay. Yeah. I've been here for a couple hours and listening, and y'all doing an awesome job. I've been in since Torch. You said I'm new. I've only just joined on X back in November of 2024. That piece of crap phone, and kind of out of the loop. But I heard with the Meta issue earlier between Facebook Meta and then the Meta, which is Meta Materials, MMAT, when they did their thing with the SEC back in 2021, 2022. No, it would have been 2021, I guess, when they changed their ticker symbol. There was a whole mass confusion with investing retail investors that bought into the RON. They thought they were buying into Meta Materials and were actually buying Facebook, hence Meta. So Zuckerberg, but the name comes up again now with this geothermal, and here again is Zuckerberg, and all of a sudden he's back, trying to get in good with Trump. I mean, all these little pieces are all, it's like, the jumble of the puzzle pieces that are all fitting together. Even though with Nextbridge, they go ahead, they drill all these wells. It's all go, go, go. Everything's still frozen in time. All the wells that they come up, with the bad well, dead well, they capped it. Drill another well, cap it. Drill another well, cap it. And just move on, move on, move on. Now with the University of Land, with their lease, Nextbridge has already done all the dirty work with all the drilling and digging, and so it's all mapped out. Hence, geothermal has the lease from the University of Lands. Has it been renewed? I mean, John was just talking a minute ago. January 1st of 2025. So that land is still sitting there. So theoretically, it's university land. Has anybody renewed a lease or signed the lease? I mean, it should be public knowledge. I mean, or is NextBridge still on the hook? Everything's in limbo.
I think limbo for now. I don't know what kind of deals are being made, but I'm hoping there's talks going on that we're not privy to.
Now, I'm totally under the understanding we do not have the lease, period. There's nothing that says we're in limbo. The lease terminated December 31st, 2024, and UL now has that land without any leasee.
No income. It's just sitting there signed.
No income. That was my entire preface of what the UL laws are dictating is income.
Now, why would they do that? I mean, if they had
well,
no income last year, according to that NextBridge has been 5 years in arrears on the royalty on the lease price for the property for mineral and gas rates.
They have a serious problem to explain why they are not receiving rent January 1st when they were completely capable of doing so. And if they said, well, Your Honor, we got Shell that's going to give us $5,000 an acre for that property. Well, NextBridge, if you can read, unless I'm retarded, I don't know, I probably am, but or just ignorant. Sorry, I don't like using that word. But unless I'm completely ignorant, it says in there that they need to give them a 30-day notice. That's how you kick out a tenant, period. You can't kick them out because they're black, white, purple, green, smell bad, look bad, drive the wrong car, whatever. You can't do that. You can't use prejudice. It's not like when a customer comes to your business and you say, I have the right to refusal, I think you're ugly. You can kick their ass off your property. They don't have the right to patronage on your property, even if it's Walmart. The problem with that is they look bad and they have a national account. And so Walmart is tarnished on the entire face of the planet. But if you're a single business owner and you have one place or a million, they walk on your property, you can say, leave. They have no right to buy crap. You don't have to sell anything. But the UL is not selling land to build houses on. They're getting rent from the freaking sand, whether it's pumping oil or not.
Exactly.
So they are now in violation of the 30-day. It's posted in this. So I'll read it because I don't have it memorized. I'm not. Let's see. Well, I thought I posted it. Heck, it's not there. Okay, let me go back. I posted it on my space. I'll put it up there. Let's see. It says.
Yeah, I don't see it.
Huh?
I don't see it
Okay,
either.
it was under guess who. It was a reply. Let me see. I should be able to pull it up.
That's what I mean. Like, I'm new and I'm still trying to figure out how to maneuver around, and I can bunch of listening, requesting a mic and putting the thumbs up, and
yeah, that's about all most of us can do. I don't have.
yeah, well, we're just us. I know of, there's a couple of hundred. Since I've been on, I've seen like 150 people, more listeners come on here, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
But Trump,
But
Doge,
you might want to
awesome job.
go to MMTLP resources and get caught up if you're new, and that'll get you fairly up to date.
All right. Did it just post, or is it coming up? Because I just redid it.
No, I don't see it. But I don't mean
it's under
halftime. I don't generate.
It's Torchlight. Yeah, I'm trying to post it to Torchlight Space.
I can go to your profile, see if I can get it. All right, I see it. Yeah, I think it's already up there, but I'll put it up there.
Okay.
On May 3rd, 2024, NextBridge Holding received an email. That one?
Yeah, the pictures. Yeah, let me go up there. Let's see.
Yeah, I see.
Dang, I still don't see it.
Yeah. Well, I see two sets of pictures. I posted it, so it
Okay, maybe not.
should go.
So I'll go back and look.
Yeah. Well, I'm not generating, but but we got Lawrence had his hand up forever, so let's go with Lawrence.
Oh, right on, Captain Insane. Thank you. And thank you, Torchlight and Marduk and Junk Savvy for being here and providing this call space and information this weekend and this morning. You people are the best. You're a blessing to this community. All I want to say, what I've gleaned out of everything that's come alight today, this morning, that you have provided is that this is going to require a forensic financial crime scene investigator. And that's kind of like what Doge is all about. And these people that are involved with Doge are just like that. They're forensic financial crime investigators, and they've just been uncovering corruption all along the way. And when you look at Nextbridge and what's going on with the University of Texas lands, and they have left so much crime scene evidence. You got to remember, the lease was pulled before everybody jumped ship, before all the rats jumped ship. And all I got to say is this is going to come to a fruition, and it just, we've been through so much, and everybody's kept their faith, and we're doing the best we can. And I believe this is going to be a positive outcome for all of us. We just have to let the powers that be, Doge and drill baby drill and all of that stuff, to come together and do its stuff. And even though the rats jump ship, they're going to be held accountable. I certainly believe so. And so much of the rats jumping ship was the result of what happened to NBH and the uncovering and the revealing of the corruption. And God bless you. God bless this community. This community really changed the nation and actually strengthened the national security because it just pulled off the covers. Anyways, this is a forensic financial crime scene requiring a in-depth investigation. God bless everybody. I'll drop down and listen. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, thinking in my own head, have our DDers of MMTLP, the DDers, meet up with Doge, or maybe they're already talking to him. I don't know. I have seen a few posts there since we've been open here from the other side. Yeah, no, they're so concerned about us holding bags and blah, 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 blah. You know, the same old story. So why are they here? Who's paying them?
Well, Captain Insane, as the saying goes, a little bit of wind against the tree makes the tree grow stronger. And so our national security et al., Nextbridge, hydrocarbons, all of us, this has been it's been more than a little bit of wind against our tree, but you know what? I believe at the end, it's going to really strengthen this nation. Drill, baby, drill. And the corruption out of the financial free fair market system is going to be stronger.
Yeah, well, I look at the numbers of people in there, and I think we hit 400 on a Saturday morning, and so they're out there. MMPs are out there everywhere, It's like I'll watch a space, and if it's recorded, then go back, you get 300 people in there, go back 5 days later, and there'll be 6,000 views of that particular space. So we're a lot stronger than what a lot of people want to admit to.
Yeah,
We're
we even
carrying
had
a
a
big
fan club
stick.
today. We had a fan
Yeah.
club today.
Well, that's a good thing with all the extra views.
Oh yeah, it's an awesome space, Torchlight. Thanks for opening, but I'm glad I got it recorded. I got 3 hours and 13 minutes recorded. I'll play this later for the ones that couldn't be in here this morning.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Go ahead. I appreciate you helping out. Like I said, I actually just had like an hour to kill at work, around 8 o'clock, and it turned into now 5 hour space where I've went back and forth and still working and doing this. So you just never know. It was a very good, productive space. Uh, it's incredible. I definitely feel the momentum shifting. I definitely feel the positive steamrolling coming. It's just everything, and to have this many people even streaming in the other space, why do they care? So I love it. I really do. But yeah, if anybody else wants to come up to a mic, that's awesome. You can. But I do. In the next few minutes, I am gonna have to close because I actually have to get back to work and like stay at work.
Hey, Torchlight, if you'll let me in, I want to read this one little section right here
Yeah, go
to
ahead.
clarify this. So, section 14 and section 15, assignments, it's titled Assignments and Release. And this is under the Texas UL lease laws, which are real similar to the regular Texas land lease laws, but it does have its own section regarding the UL properties. So it says the assignment or relinquish of rights acquired under this lease is governed by the directives. Leasee must notify leaseor of the assignment of all or any part of the leased premises to another party and must promptly provide recorded copies of assignments to leaseor within 30 days of the assignment from leasee to another party. Failure to notify leaseor, Nextbridge, as an example, of the assignment and to provide a recorded copy of the assignment to the assignee will result in monetary penalties and will also constitute a breach of this lease. Crap. Let's see. Okay. Calendar days, the receipt by leaseor of such notice from leasee will be a condition precedent to leaseor's right to bring an action for any cause, and in the absence of such notice, no such action will be brought by leaseor until the expiration of the 30-day notice period to leasee. Leaseor may remedy any type of breach or default, or at leaseor's election, terminate the lease pursuant to section 14C. There is a explicit phrase, a explicit law, sentence, whatever you want to call it, that totally tells Nextbridge why and how they can terminate the lease, which is section 14C below, by filing an instrument evidencing such termination in the county or counties in which the leased premises are located. If leasee fails to remedy such breach or default within the 30-day period, in addition to any other remedies available to leaseor may elect to remedy any breach or default with contemptuous written notice to leasee if immediate action by leaseor would mitigate or prevent further avoidable damages, or if leasee's breach or default involves any environmental or regulatory issues. So it goes on. So the whole fact, like I said, is the lease Texas UL has to give the leaseor 30 days notice of fixing the problems in order to continue basically the royalty payments concerning getting their money. It's not providing protection or housing or anything like that. It relies around why you're in breach. And so if there was a safety hazard and they didn't do something according to the Texas laws, and you know daggum well there are many DEQ agents and other agencies that go out there and inspect the wells, including the Texas UL, the railroad commissioner. All of that has never been given them that they needed to stop drilling because they got a safety hazard or what have you. So some of those regulations are in there, but they would have had to have given them 30-day notice saying, you know, y'all don't care to wear safety helmets or gloves or do practices that are, you know, dangerous to people, and we don't want to be responsible for none of that. Everything so far has been a monetary issue, and so they would have had to have given them a 30-day notice concerning the monetary issues. And thus, they've got a new person who's going to lease it, who's promising not to have these problems. Well, it's evident from today, from my reading, that they addressed the issues without any notice. Then they compounded the issues with bigger payments to appease and sweeten the deal. So I don't know what kind of lawyer you need to be to recognize the writing on the wall says they're screwed. But I know the way the system works. And the last little paragraph, like everything else we have been finding out, it's who you know, what you can hide. It's all that BS. And it's that last sentence right down there at the bottom, giving the leasee the ability to waive a jury trial. You go before the judge is going to say, yeah, I agree or I don't agree. What are you going to do about it? There you go.
Well, I hope so, and I will say, I hope. I like everything that's going on so far. Like I said, the steamroll, positive steamroll is coming over the last 24 to 48 hours. There's been some great information here that it's definitely helping our side and helping things look a lot better. I just would like Doge and Trump to investigate the SEC and FINRA, and you can start with our situation. And then if it brings University Lands to the table to get them back, to get our assets, that's great too. I just think this fucking freight train is on a great path to hopefully getting some um, resolution and justice that we definitely deserve. Bagel Man, what's up?
It's on a freight train, biscuit wheels. It's on a gravy train. It's on a gravy train with biscuit wheels. That's what I meant to say. I'm excited to see what the hell comes from everything. What a time to be alive, and I'm thankful. Thankful for everybody that's stuck in here. I'm thankful for the scumbags on the other side still here, pushing us for resolution, because they're the ones that give me the reason to fight harder. So thank them for that. Everybody has their differences in their opinions, but I usually take criticism and assholes like them as fire in my pants. So I'm here and I'm still fighting people.
I agree. I think everybody should enjoy their weekend with their family and friends. And then we make some more calls on Monday. We talk about all this stuff, you know what I mean, that we found out on Friday and today. Um, if you got the Chromo Carlson, if you want to reply to him, that's awesome. Whatever we can do. But I'm gonna, after this space, I feel very I feel a lot better. Morale's definitely up within myself. This was an incredible space on a Saturday morning that I never even expected to even have or get. The information that was received today was absolutely phenomenal. So, you know, it's up to you what you do. But I know what I'm going to be doing. I'm definitely fucking jacked up to be making some calls on Monday morning and definitely using this little bit of information that I got. And I'm going to enjoy my family and friends, obviously finish my work shift for the next 4 or 5 hours. But, you know, I appreciate all of you. Like I said, this community is just so resilient. And I really do believe the MMTLP Army is gonna definitely, it's definitely set in history. It really is. And I don't care what anybody says. We're definitely fucking gonna change the way things are done. And this community is just so strong, so resilient. And I have a really good feeling at the end of this, we're gonna tell the other side, hey, you know, you could have got this done a little bit earlier if you just would have helped us get a certified, aggregated, audited motherfucking share count that they don't seem to get us. I just can't wait for the day for this to be over with, and we're all relaxing, knowing that we had a lot of pain and suffering, but we never gave up. We never fucking gave up. No matter what was thrown at us, we kept plowing through, from our personal lives, our professional lives, with this whole bullshit with the regulators, you know, everything that we had to fucking deal with, endure. The resilientness is just something that I'm going to take with me for the rest of my life. It's fucking amazing. Which I love you all. I appreciate everybody. And if anybody wants to, you know, grab a mic before I hang up, that's awesome. But this fucking space should energize you, the stuff you heard, because I know it did with me. So, like I said, we live to fight another day, and hopefully Doge and Trump go after and, you know, get investigating the SEC and FINRA. That's all I want. I just want transparency. I just will, if there's no problem with this situation, no problem at all, give me a certified, aggregated, audited motherfucking share count and the 45 people that are streaming in on the other spaces. You should fucking want that too. You can tell us we're crazy, but you're still here dealing with us, and why? There's no fucking reason to. Well, guess what? I think you're fucking scared. And in my opinion, I think there's going to be one day where you're going to fucking disappear, and this thing, we are going to get resolution. We are going to get justice. And it's because the fucking truth will prevail. And it's because of this fucking community, the resilientness, and how we don't fucking give up. And for that, I very much appreciate it. And I am gonna actually, James Bond, I'll give you a mic. I'll give you a mic. You can hit me right before I was gonna go, but go ahead, James.
Tracker or progress or I guess a queue of what they're up to?
I don't. They're actually moving so fast that I can't even keep up. But
Yeah, wouldn't it be interesting if Doge has already got a connection between USAID and into MMTLP? You know, wouldn't that be interesting?
and wouldn't you wanna, if you believe that there's a lot of counterfeit shares in the market or certain tickers, why wouldn't you want to go after you know, start with the MMTLP community or MMTLP fiasco situation that's been frozen in time, that isn't trading, that you can go call the 105 brokers and get that. You already have one broker that's already admitted they're over their allotment in TradeStation. Why wouldn't you want to go to that situation first when you've had a community that got 74 community members? I believe you got 2 senators, J.D. Vance, which happens to be the vice president of the United States of America, and you got Mike Crapo. You got all that stuff. You got a lot of smoking guns. Why not start there? Why not start there? When all we've asked for is a certified, aggregated, audited motherfucking share count to see where we are, and nobody wants to give us. So if I was Doge, start there. I think you'll be fucking amazed what you find out. Sorry, James, wasn't trying to. I sometimes get a little carried away.
No, that's great. We need it.
Hey, Doc, Are you gonna come up and tell me, hey, that you didn't invite me to the party or what you had for fucking lunch that day, or do you got something important to actually give to the conversation before I end?
No, I missed this whole thing because I had to work on some people. So I'm looking forward to the recording. So trying to understand Meta. No. Nextbridge has a contract with the company that contracted with Meta. Is that how it works?
I don't have the exact thing like to know. I don't have all that, but I know Insane. You can start the recording over if you want once we start back up. I don't know if anybody can come up and elaborate. I missed some bits and pieces because I was actually working here and there.
So Nextbridge partnered with Sage, who partnered with Meta, right?
I
So when you
think
read
I
that
think
article,
that's roughly. I think that could be the bullet points, but I don't hold me to it.
because when you
I
read the
Yeah.
article, it doesn't mention Nextbridge, but Nextbridge was partnering with Sage. So, but the other thing that's interesting is I'm reading about Chevron and Exxon. These AI data centers, and I've heard this from many of my patients. They were saying maybe nuclear will fuel these data centers because the grid can't handle it. But and now they're going after gas. And what I've always heard about the Ora Grande was the gas amounts were outrageous, like astronomical. So that would make sense why they would want to partner with a very gas rich well. Anyway, we'll see what
No, that
happens.
was always the case. The gas was always. I do know that for sure. But does anybody else want to grab? I know somebody grabbed a mic or wants to talk. If not, I do got to end the space, and I would assume Insane's gonna just roll this tape again.
Yeah, I'll give it a couple hours, wait for the afternoon crew and people coming home from
So
working, whatever.
perfect. Coming right now. Thought you were getting out of here. Okay.
But yeah, no, this is probably one of the better spaces we've had in a while,
Yeah,
you
it is.
know.
Hey, I do got to end